After a 2-weekend break, the Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship, sanctioned by AMA Pro Racing, is back. And we're at the sands of Southwick, Massachusetts. And this race, already unique for its soil condition, well, it's going to stand out for many more reasons than that. It's a day of motocross racing you won't soon forget, and we're going to have all the highlights here as Blake Baggett and Ryan Dungey try to protect their points lead on one of the most grueling racetracks in this series. What is it called? Where is it at? Let's talk to one of our old favorites.
Travis Pastrana here at Southwick.
That's right, Travis. It's the Racer X Motocross Show on AllySports.com. Jason Weigandt here, your host. We're going to get this started with the 250 class here in Moto number 1. A lot of attention on this kid, Zach Bell, coming in with the Horizon Award in his pro motocross debut. Blake Baggett, your series points leader. Justin Barsha trying to run him down in the series. Couple of things to watch here off the start in Moto 1. First, a rare good start for Baggett, but he goes wide and opens the door for Bell to take the whole shot in his first pro race. And then a ton of riders, including Barsha, are down early in this one. So how about Zach Bell leading them around in his first ever pro lap? Marvin Musquin, Sean Reif, Baggett, and Eli Tomac are out front early as well. There's the form, the style, the speed of Bell, opening up a nice little lead early. But the rider to watch soon was Tomac, who would get around Reif and Baggett, then go around Musquin, who would make a mistake here to put his Geico Honda into the number 2 spot, and he was not done. Remember, Tomac won the first pro race of his career. He knew exactly the position that Bell was in up front. He was on the gas and would eventually close in on his 17-year-old teammate. And then Bell, knowing that Tomac is in the championship points hunt, would eventually yield to the number 17 and allow Tomac to take the lead. But then things would quickly go from bad to worse for Bell, who would crash hard, hit his head, and just like that, his debut pro day was over. No stopping Tomac, who checked out up front. Meanwhile, Barsha was doing everything he could come from behind and salvage points. He would finish 7th. Tomac takes the win. Solid ride for Musquin on the Red Bull KTM to take 2nd. Blake Baggett in 3rd. Time for Moto number 2. Tomac trying to follow up on his spectacular performance in that one. As mentioned, Bell will not compete in this moto after hitting his head in Moto 1. Whole shot going to go to another rookie, the 136 Lucas Oil Troy Lee Honda man, Jesse Nelson. See the pack battling for position here on the first lap. Top pursuit of Nelson is the 70 of Roxon, Red Bull KTM. Then you've got Baggett, Alex Martin, and a whole bunch of Geico Hondas, but not Tomac, who started this one in about 8th. Then he would crash on lap 1 and go back to 10th. Roxon, a few laps in, takes the lead from Nelson with Baggett in 3rd. Roxon's led a lot of laps this year. Last couple races have not been so great for him, but he seemed to find his form again today as he began to check out, looking for his first ever moto win in the U.S., a follow-up after a 4th in Moto number 1. Baggett would eventually get around Nelson and take over 2nd, but he had about 5 seconds to make up on Roxon. Amazingly, Tomac, rallying from 10th and nearly 20 seconds back in the lead group, found his groove, and he was going 4 seconds a lap faster than the lead duo until he caught them and then passed Baggett momentarily for 2nd, but then crashed in the very next turn, ending his chances of an overall win. As Baggett then went after Roxon, they passed each other back and forth several times, but Baggett was able to pull out the moto win. He'll tie Tomac on scores today, 3-1 and 1-3, but the better 2nd moto gives him the overall win, with Roxon on the podium. Barsha had a crash in Moto 2, a rough day for the number 20. On to the big bikes. Ryan Dungey has a 6-race overall win streak heading into this one. Off the start in Moto 1, I'm going to bet you $50 Mike Alessi gets another whole shot, and I didn't even need to know that it happened before this race to know that it was going to happen. He's up front on the Moto Concepts bike. How about Phil Nicoletti on an even more privateer ride than before? Now in the 450 class, starts 2nd. Dungey would quickly move around him into the number 2 spot, setting up yet another Alessi-Dungey Roost Fest. And Alessi once again proved very hard to get around. Dungey was eating facefuls of sand for about half of this one, trying to figure out a way around the 800. Dungey, by the way, wears the number 5, but you could barely tell because his front number plate was covered. Here's local boy Robbie Marshall out of Stowe, Massachusetts, running 3rd early. Tommy Hahn would put the Team Honda Muscle Milk machine in front of him, looking for a podium. And Dungey was still looking for a way around Alessi, and just about the moment the skies opened up, a line opened and allowed Dungey to take the lead. In some pretty darn miserable conditions, he rolled away from the pack on his Red Bull KTM ahead of Alessi. Marshall hung tough, a solid 4th place for the Munn Racing KTM man, and no doubt the Massachusetts fans were pumped on that. Last lap, Alessi has now lost sight of Dungey. Still a solid performance for him, but you know Dungey's going to win this moto because we're about to bust out the slow motion footage. Ryan Dungey. That's a lot of moto wins this year for him. I've kind of lost count at this point. Time for 450 Moto 2. Tyler Rattray on the left, Justin Brayton on the right. We're both down early in Moto 1. They're hoping to rebound with better results in Moto 2. I'll bet you $50 again. Mike Alessi's going to grab the whole shot here. But quickly, Dungey's around him on lap 1. The Dunge not messing around this time. He's looking to check out and lead and win this one. And heck, considering how many races he's won this year, his 7th overall win in a row seemed like a foregone conclusion, right? Alessi was not quite as sharp in Moto 2 as he was in Moto 1, and there was a fierce pack battling behind it. How about Mike Brown up front, as well as a Brock Tickle, Tyler Rattray. Hahn was up front again. Rattray was really the rider on the move after a bunch of crashes in the first moto. He would come back, get to the number 3 spot. And then the unexpected happened. Dungey crashes and checked the gas cap. Comes loose, and fuel starts pouring out of his bike. He would immediately get back up and repass Alessi for the lead. Again, Alessi not quite as strong in this moto as he was in Moto 1. And Rattray would get Alessi also for second. But remember all the gas that Dungey lost? That leaves the door open for this, a pit stop while leading. I don't think anyone on this team had any experience doing that. They did bring Kurt Caselli's mechanic from the off-road side over, but it's a little different in moto terms. It took him about 14 seconds to refuel the bike. He pulled out right behind Rattray and in front of Alessi. So at this point, Dungey still has the overall lead tucked away, but he wanted Rattray for the moto win in the worst way. He was digging down deep, taking on more roost. But you got to give credit to the veteran from South Africa. He wanted his first ever 450 moto win, and he gets it. Rattray goes 20-1 in his moto scores for the day to finish 5th overall. Dungey goes 1-2 for the win. Still bummed out. Heck, that's 7 in a row, man. Alessi and Tickle on the overall podium as Hahn and Marshall had trouble with crashes in Moto 2. And the women's class back in action here on the very rough track at Southwick with quite a title fight on their hands. Ashley Feilick on the Honda is out front early, has a challenge from series point leader Jessica Patterson on the Rockstar Suzuki, but Feilick would get away and win the moto. Tara Geiger, also in the championship fight, would finish 3rd on her Lucas Oil Troy Lee Honda. In Moto 2, Feilick continued her incredible roll, another good start. Not much of a challenge. She would go on to another moto win. Feilick was considered out of championship contention after she knocked herself out in Colorado a couple of months ago. She found herself right back in the thick of the standings after another 1-1 day. Patterson would go 2-2. Geiger struggled to 5th in the second moto, opening the door for Sarah Pedersen to put her KTM on the overall podium. Only 10 points separate the top 3 riders in the WMX series with just 1 race to go for them. We're headed to Unadilla next week in upstate New York. Go to allysports.com for more. Okay, we're going to wrap this up talking to Eli Tomac. Pretty much anything that could have happened today at Southwick happened, including you making up a ton of ground in the second moto. And for that small moment, things were looking good. How did that go?
Yeah, got the W in the first moto.
Yep.
Was looking solid going into the second moto there, and had to make a pass or make passes on a couple guys.
Right.
And looked up and saw Kenny like on the other side of the world. So I was like, man, I got to get going if I even have a chance at this thing. And ended up closing the gap, and for a split second I was in second, but then I hit a tree, so tree won there. And man, yeah, that was it. So a little bit of a bummer, but can't complain about second. Southwick's been a little bit rough to me here the past years in the races. I've always been fast in practice, but I haven't made it happen in the race, so it's cool to get that done.
Yeah. Now, at one point you had the overall when you were in 3rd. Do you even think about that kind of thing? You're like, hey, 2 guys are ahead of me, I want to beat them.
Once I drilled the tree, I was like, come on, Kenny, stay in front of him.
Then you thought about it.
Yeah. You know, before that, though, I was like, all right, I can catch these guys. I can make it my own destiny. But then after that, it was just like, come on, Kenny. But, you know, can't complain about second.
Yeah, and what do you credit that speed to? I mean, like you said, you're always been faster in practice, but I mean, to make up 20 seconds on 2 of the front runners in the series, not anyone can just do that. You have to feel good about that.
Yeah, I really like the sand.
You do.
Not many people know that, but I really ride well in it, and I just like it. So yeah, it's just one of my stronger points, you could say.
I think what everyone thinks is you're in Colorado, and they're like, oh, he rides in the mountains and these trees and rocks and stuff like that. But you're actually in the southern part of the state, and you can get to the sand pretty easily.
Like half of our track is a sandier section, and then before we even came here, we went down to some sand dunes in New Mexico. So we prepared the best we could.
So that kind of paid off. Like the sand experience coming in, you're not just a mountains guy.
Totally, yeah.
Right.
Like it's, you know, everyone thinks the Florida and Georgia guys are going to be the sand guys,
Right.
but really, you know, no one really knows about Colorado.
Right.
Yeah.
But next year, maybe they'll follow through and we'll get the W here, right?
Yep, that's right.
That's the goal. All right, that's Eli Tomac taking a close second place today. Are you worried about the points, by the way? Does that run through your mind, or is it still like, hey,
I mean,
long way to go?
I guess we just stayed in with the points, which
Yeah.
kind of sucked because I did gain 5 points in that first moto,
Right.
but all flipped in the second one. So anything can happen, and I guess we're just shooting for some more wins.
Yeah, all right. Well, still a long way to go,
Yep.
so we can still get it done. Thanks to Eli, and thanks to you for watching. We'll see you next week on the WMX Motocross show from Unadilla.